good afternoon everyone. Today I would like to read this article. Okay, I will start. If you are bright and restless teenager in a small town in American Midwest, you may well have one desire, and this is to get out to go somewhere else. Having Minnesota is one such town, and Robert Bob Zimmerman was one such young man. In 1959, at the same age of 18, Zimmerman left having to study English at the University of Minnesota in Minneapolis. But formal study was not his thing. Bob was very much into pop music, and on campus and of it, Son became a popular performer at pop clubs and pop events. Zimmerman was a bit of a long name for a cool pop singer, so Bob adopted the name of the popular radical Welsh Paul Dylan Thomas, who had died 6 years previously. Robert Zimmerman became Bob Dylan. Big though it was compared to Hibbing, Minneapolis was not throbbing cultural capital of the United States, and within a year Bob had dropped out of university and made up his mind to pursue together a career in music instead. It was a pretty big gamble. The terms sport singing and career rarely went together, and there were hardly a dozen successful pop singers in use at the same time. There was the again Woody Guthrie, the popular Fitz Stryger, and the Fox Brothers Four. But Bob, now reborn as Bob Dylan, had a particular music style and an ambition to go with it. From Minneapolis, Dylan made his way to heart of the contemporary American pop music scene, Greenwich Village in New York, reaching the city by Greenwald bus in January 1961 with little money in his pocket and no clear career plan in his head. It was, however, the start of a new chapter in his life, and at once he began performing in local clubs, gaining attention for his talents and unique style, performing in coffee houses and bars of Greenwich Village, playing both popular pop songs and some of his own compositions. Dylan soon built a following. His distinct nasal voice and original lyric attracted the attention of music critics and fellow musicians. And just over 3 months after he arrived in New York, an enthusiastic article in the New York Times by Robert Sultan helped launch Bob Dylan on the road to success, within which Columbia Records had signed him up for a recording contract. Dylan's first album, simply titled Bob Dylan, came out in March 1962 and included a mixture of traditional folk songs such as House of the Rising Sun and a couple of Dylan's own compositions. The album was a success, but just a first stage of what to follow. It was Dylan's second album, The Following Bob Dylan, released in 1963. That really emphasized his unique genius as a songwriter. It came out at a point in time when J.F. Kennedy was president of the U.S. America was getting out important in Vietnam, and people were alarmed at the prospect of nuclear war. Songs like Blowing in the Wind and A Hand Raised are gonna fall touch on the developing issue of the day. The 1964 album, The Times They Are Changing, continued the trend with societally conscious protest songs that captured the mood of a generation increasingly politicized by the civil rights movement, the Vietnam War, and yet full rebellion against social conformity. Protest music was Dylan's specialty, and As the 60s were on, he became the unofficial voice of the youth counterculture movement. It was the following year Dylan was billed as the top act at the July 65 Newport Folk Festival, the biggest annual folk event in the USA. At the time, there was a clear distinction between pop music using acoustic guitars and a new genre called rock and roll, or more generally pop music, which used newly introduced electric guitars. Newport was pop bands, not rock and roll bands. So when Dylan broke with tradition and broke a backing group with electric guitar into the stage to perform Maggie Sparm and Like a Rolling Stone, it used a folk role. Traditional folk bands carried a tractor and tried to build him off stage, but they failed to confess. The audience have more known what aspect as 3 months earlier Dylan had already gone electric with his 5th album bringing it all back home. Younger and more offended the fans like what they heard, and they heard crossover from traditional folk to a kind of folk rock was widely available. Venturing into new creative fields had become of Dylan's hallmarks. However, ringing was only of Dylan's creative evolution. His next album, Highway 61 Represent, would be hailed by many as his masterpiece, featuring some of the greatest lyrics ever written. This included the momentous Destination Brown, almost 12 minutes of lyrical wandering through a dystopian world populated by Cain and Abel, Einstein, Ezra Pound, and other figures from our collective culture. It was Dylan at his best. Dylan had 51 years later would be awarded the Nobel Prize of Literature. From 1965 to 1967, Bob Dylan was the most influential poet and singer in the world, rivaled only perhaps by John Lennon. In 1966, he undertook a massive role in impromptu 47 concerts, the last two being in Paris and London. 2 months later, everything came to a halt. Spending a rural road in Woodstock, New York, Dylan was involved in a serious motorcycle accident. He was not killed indeed with a year he had returned to recording studio, but Dylan had changed. There was still the same as a force, still pop songs, still electric guitars, but the magic had gone. Since 1967, another 28th album had followed, most recently in 2020. And to this day, Dylan is still recognized as a radio musician, but as an icon, his time is well past. Okay, maybe that's all from me. Thank you for watching.